Hello friends, you're listening to Profoundish. I'm Weston. Alex will be here in just a moment as we celebrate our 50th episode number 50 of Profoundish. We've been doing this for a year now. Can you believe that? I certainly can, and also can't. It's weird. Time makes no sense anymore. But we're going to be just talking about the podcast and reminiscing and talking about where we started and just doing our thing like we always do. And then we're going to rank our games that we play by how much we like them, basically. Tune in. You're listening to Profoundish.
If you could have one, like, sound effect that you could play at any time in your day-to-day life, like there's just these, it just randomly plays from a random source somewhere, and everybody can hear it that's near you. It could be any sound effect you wanted. It could be realistic, it could be cartoony, doesn't matter. What sound effect would it be?
I've got two answers to that. I have the meme answer where from, like, my YouTube channel, we just literally play the Daddy Shark theme.
Yep.
Randomly. Nice. That's the meme answer. I guess the real answer, if I could just play any sound effect at will into the ether. I don't know, the first thing that comes to my mind is just like a lightning strike, right? Just like a crack of thunder, right? Just, it'd terrify people. It could
use
be
it in a lot of different contexts, too.
Yeah.
You really
it'd be like
could.
a dramatic entrance into a room or an exit.
Yeah.
I mean...
Or, you know, you just dropped a bombshell of, you know, like a cliffhanger kind of thing. Like, yeah. Or was it? You know, and then there's so many uses for it.
I feel like that's a pretty solid... I feel like that's a pretty solid move.
That's a good answer. You know, I really don't have one because I was actually thinking about the next thing I was going to say, which was about Baby Shark.
Baby Shark, do.
I knew the time was going to come, and I was going to tell you this when it did, and today is that day, Weston. I finally have worked on a medley where the Baby Shark theme was included.
Oh, my God.
So now you have, if you want, you can have me singing Baby Shark.
And you used to be, you used to have integrity, man. You fell off.
You know, I did this for a quick cash grab from all the Matching Man Mo fans out there. I want them to come over and because, you know, in my head, every single Magic Man Mo fan is just pressing that button all the time to play that on your streams.
Pretty much. It does get to be that way because you'll have the OGs, right, that they definitely hit me with it. And what will happen is everyone tries to hit me at once so that I have to play through the Daddy Shark verse, like, 5 times before I can like move on with my life. And then you'll get like new viewers that are like, what's happening? How do I be a part of this?
I've seen ones where like, I can't remember what stream it was, but I came in late to it and I was just kind of lurking that night. But I just remember, I'm assuming the context was it already was hit like 20 times because somebody kept playing it just from like this periodically, but you would just ignore it. You wouldn't even say anything about it. It made me feel like, you know, I bet you he's heard it 20 times already, and he's just let them hit the button.
Well, there comes to be a point, right? Like, I have some very typical reactions to that song that I try to kind of like play it up a little bit. But like, you can only do that so many times before it's like, okay, I get it. Please.
Right.
No more. No mas. Please.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, what I'll do is I'll send you the snippet from my medley of me singing it, and then there's 2 versions. Maybe you can figure out how to do that somehow.
Actually, that would be amazing if I get you actually singing the Daddy Shark line or one of the lines for me so that I can steal that, so that if, God forbid, the Daddy Shark people came after me for using that sound bite in my streams, I could have my butt covered.
So you say Daddy Shark, so it's Daddy Shark do. That's the one that plays for you. I always thought it was Baby Shark.
The line that I actually use is Daddy Shark, and the reason I chose that one is that I preferred the sound of the guy singing that part, his voice, more than the Baby Shark part.
Right. Well, you got a man singing the Baby Shark part now. Once I send it to you, so then yeah. But yeah, I immediately, it's so funny. I actually thought of you first. Like, I didn't even think about, oh my God, this song. I thought, oh, Weston, he could use this or something. That's
I've become the
become
Baby
synonymous
Shark
with you.
streamer for somehow.
Yeah, and it's funny, when I recorded the video for that portion of the medley, because this is, of course, by the time this comes out... Actually, I don't want to say too much, because that medley will not be out yet, but I guess that'll give away what medley it is, but who cares?
It's a sneak peek.
It is a little sneak peek. That, when I was recording the video for it, I didn't know if I should kind of, like, play... like, be aware of what I'm singing when I'm singing it, you know what I mean? Like, because usually I'm very animated and I'm smiling and I'm moving around and I'm going to the music. But I didn't know if I should, like, be aware of, like, yes, I know what I'm singing, or if I should just be into it like I usually am, you know? I didn't know what would be funnier. So I tried both takes, and it turns out the one, I just felt like, because of just the nature of how I usually am in my medleys, the second one was better, where I just sing it like normal and don't try and kind of meme it. I was just, like, singing it. So... we'll see how people react to it. The other one I almost seemed like it did not seem genuine at all. It just made me look like kind of a jerk. Because every other part of that medley is me like bobbing my head and smiling and singing. And it actually didn't really work as much as you'd think it would. So anyway,
yeah,
my little...
like, I get the meme angle of like, oh God, this song. But also because of the nature of your medleys are typically like upbeat, right? And you're going to spend so little time on that song, you know, relative, because, you know, you're not doing a cover of the whole darn thing. That,
Right.
you're right. You wouldn't want to just suddenly be you don't want to look like you were being forced to do it and you didn't like it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So, yeah, whatever. I ended up liking the take, but point is, it came. I didn't know if I would ever have to cover that song, but I didn't realize there's a show of it on a major network. It's on I didn't realize there was like a whole like Nick Jr. show. So but it is. I just knew it was just some song from where did it originate? Like Japan or something?
Well, that's the thing, and I don't remember, maybe Japan or something, but like the popular YouTube channel that like exploded in all of our collective consciousness right now, they didn't originate it. Like, that song was stolen from someone who was stolen from someone stolen, and like 30 dozen different stolens all the way down, because no one actually knows who owns the rights to that song. No one knows. So it's more or less, you can't just literally steal someone's like rendition of it. But if you wanted to do your own version of the Baby Shark song, you don't have to license out a cover or anything. It's no one knows who owns it.
Interesting. I never knew that. That's why I was wondering how that worked. Like, Nickelodeon got a hold of this? Like, how does that work? You know, I didn't realize that it's a mystery.
Yeah, that was my understanding. That, like, yeah, as long as you do your own version, it's free game.
Interesting. Well, I can remember when I first heard Baby Shark. Like, I just know, obviously, it got memed up really bad, like, a handful of years ago. I don't know how long. But it was everywhere, and then it wasn't, but then I still think of you with it every time. That one, and then another kid's thing was like, this is so little kid, like, I'm talking like 3-year-old, like, what's it called? Something Coco? Cocomelon.
Yeah.
Cocomelon. That was a meme for a while, too. But that's the only other one I can think of that I compare to Baby Shark. Just Cocomelon, that sound, at least.
I remember the first time I ever even heard the name Cocomelon. Someone was telling me on a stream, like, oh, did you know Cocomelon got, I don't know, 1 billion subscribers? Whatever it was. Not that many, obviously, but whatever it was, because it was some, like, new highest number channel, whatever. I don't remember. But I was like, oh, well, congrats for them. Who are they? What do they do? And it's a freaking kids channel. I had no idea. They're like, what do you mean? You've never heard of Cocomelon? I'm like, no, I'm not 7. I'm not 4, or whoever it's
I know,
for,
right?
I'm not a parent, so I don't have kids, and I'm not 4. So I don't know what Cocomelon is.
Yeah, like, even that one, even I missed that one, because I know I do, like, a lot of children's songs, but I usually don't do that old of children's songs unless we were that old when the song was out. Right. So, you know, that's fairly new. And that's another thing I realized, too, doing some more modern music, is that you mentioned, like, you know, they got so many people watching on YouTube. A lot of these shows, these kids are just watching on YouTube now, which completely makes sense. I'm not saying that seems weird, but in my head, it's still all kids are watching shows on network TV, but I know that's not true. But I'm thinking all of these shows now that I'm doing research on to learn about, all have their own YouTube channels, like individual shows do. And sometimes they're on major networks still too, but it's really interesting. And it makes complete sense, but it still kind of blew my mind for a moment how different times are now.
It's because all these kids watch everything on their goddamn tablets.
They're tablets. They're icky, sticky tablets.
It's
they are icky, sticky.
I mean, they have to be because kids are icky, sticky.
Right.
I can only imagine. Like, I wonder. Like, I see all these kids with tablets all the time. How many tablets does a kid go through? Like, do you get just the one tablet and it has to last like 10 years or whatever? Because like it can't be a very complicated tablet. But kids like throw things and drop things and they're gross. So like, how many tablets are these kids burning through?
I don't know that, but have you seen those? When I worked in wireless, we used to have these for sale. They were like these kid-proof tablet cases, and it's literally like inches upon inches of barrier around every side of the tablet. So it's like double the size, and it's like this. It's like a tough material, but it's like a really hard rubber. And you could just throw that thing and it would bounce off the walls and it'd be fine. So I don't know. I mean, unless the tablet just goes bad, I think it probably lasts quite a while, at least with those big cases on it.
I would hope so, because tablets are like pretty expensive unless you're getting like the toy tablets that are like still like $100-$200 or whatever.
Right. I'm at a weird place right now with tablets where I've got an iPad that I always like to keep fairly up to date because I use it for a lot of stuff in my studio. But I want to have like a dedicated tablet to use as a control surface for my recording. But I'm debating on whether I should do that or go with something that has more like, it's more physical and tangible, like actual buttons and knobs. I see benefits to both for different reasons. So I'm kind of bouncing these things in my head. So I don't know. I love the physical feel of things, but I would love to be able just to have just a tablet screen that the app connects to my software and I can kind of amend it to be whatever I want it to be. So I'm not sure yet, but I'm in the market for adding that to my studio at one point.
I thought about getting a tablet once, and then I said, what on earth would I do with one? I couldn't come up with an answer, so I didn't get one.
You could, though. I mean, like, you could use it as like a control surface for your streams. Like, of course, you know what? You don't throw a lot of things up on screen, though. And you don't change that many scenes. I
don't. Although, I guess if I had one, then, like, I would find things to do with it. Like, if I got a Stream Deck, just like a button to where it's like I want to be able to, do transitions or effects or whatever. Like, I could. I never pulled the trigger on getting one. One, like, a Stream Deck's actually kind of, like, weirdly expensive for it. It's just, like, a tiny screen with button. Like, you just push buttons on it. It's, like, the same price as a small computer. It's, like, I don't know. It's a bit much, but anyway, it's more convenient than having commands like on your keyboard. Because I used to do that for a few things. Like I would try to set up like, if I hold Control and press 2 or something like that, I'll switch screens. But then what happens because I play video games is that some game will require you to do some weird button control, and I'll hit the wrong buttons on the keyboard, and all of a sudden I'm like on the ending stream screen or something.
Yeah, I get that. I will say I don't know when the last time you looked was. The Stream Deck, if you get the smaller one, it's actually it's definitely not cheap, but it's better than what it used to be.
Now, are they?
And
okay, Stream Deck.
I think it's like, I mean, you might still consider it a lot. I don't know what your number was in your head, but I think they're like 100 now. I could be wrong. They used to be 200.
I see the Elgato Mini one is like $70 on Amazon, so that's like cheaper than it used to be.
So,
but
here's the thing, like, honestly, if you really take the time to really get into it, it's totally worth the price because there's so much you can do if you take time to program stuff yourself. Like, it can run every aspect of your, like, home computer usage. Like, you can open up any application you want. There's also third parties who, like, there's people who do it for like Adobe and for Studio One, my software I use to record music, and they can sell you like a $20 preset that gives you like 100 different pages and buttons and icons and already preset commands for these programs, or you can do it yourself if you take the time. So it's really more of, at least for me, it became one of those, is it worth the time more than worth the money? And I decided it was, so I got it, and I used it for my streams I still use it for my streams quite a bit, and it's actually on my to-do list this year. I haven't done it yet, but just to like continue to make use for it for things like Adobe and stuff, because I do so much stuff. So it's there, and I like having the buttons. They just released one recently that probably is god-awful expensive that has knobs as well, which I would personally benefit from, obviously, with all the audio stuff.
Right.
But I'm not going to upgrade to that. This is just fine, and you can take two of the buttons here, and you can set up a volume up and volume down, and you can choose how many units you want it to go up or down. I have it set to 5, so I can turn up 5, 10, 15, whatever. So it's all about the time you put into it. I just know for me, it definitely helps, and there's like presets for Adobe, which I'm curious to see what those would be like and how, if that would help with my efficiency with the way I edit, or if it would be a waste of time. I'm not sure on that one yet.
I just can't see how like using a Stream Deck to edit would save time, because in my brain that's like it's basically another keyboard to think about, and I'm like, that's just adding too many elements to think about. But that's just me.
I wonder if it's for the more like robust, like technical editing, like a lot of like color stuff, like super specific color stuff, maybe, and like you can just like, because they do a lot of that for like, they have editing mice or mouses. How do you say the plural of a computer mouse? Is it mice or mouses? Is it really meese?
No.
Well, English is so weird, so I didn't know.
Mice is the plural because the singular is mouse.
Well, I just didn't know because like that's an animal, so I didn't know if it applied also to a computer mouse too.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure. So like, but they have editing mouses. I just said it. Mice, sorry.
Meese.
See, in my head, I can't accept that as an answer for some reason. But they have editing mice, like with like a ball on them for color correction too. So I wonder if they can somehow do like it translates somehow to a Steam Deck. I don't know. People do it. I see a lot of videos on it. So,
I guess if you're actually good at what you do, if you're actually good at editing, maybe it makes sense. Meanwhile, I'm just like, button, go click.
I've probably done as much efficiency as I can do with my medley editing. Like, there's only so much I can do. For a while, I used to like just crop each box out, put every box up, and then line them up to make it look like, angular and everything is like symmetrical. And then I thought, this was like embarrassingly just a few years ago. I was like, you know what? I can just make a template. So what I did was I just made a template of black bars that go across the screen everywhere it needs to go, and then I layer that on top. So I don't have to like perfectly crop every clip. I can just kind of loosely crop and just place the cropped line behind the black bars, if that makes sense. So it looks like they're just lined up with black bars, but really it's all just it's all a facade.
It's all a facade.
It's such a small thing, but it literally like saves me like an hour of editing time, which is precious time when it comes to editing.
Yep, I import the footage and then go.
I import the footage and then I hit export.
I hit export. No, it's slightly more. I don't know. I've looked at trying to do a template, but like my setup's so like from the get go prepared to edit. Like there's nothing to like template really. The bulk of my editing is going through like second to second and editing out clips.
Yeah. That's true. There's not really like because really like your screen's already laid out the way it needs to be as you're going into it. So, which is really nice. That saves you a lot of time.
Yeah, pretty.
Or comparatively at least. This isn't the editing episode, Weston. Maybe we should tell everybody listening what we're here for today.
Episode 50.
Woo, 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 50. We are 50 years old today, and we went from 30 to 50, just like
real
that.
fast. 20 years of my life gone in the blink of an eye.
No, we're excited though. We're kind of counting this as, even though it's technically not, we're counting this as it's been a year of Profoundish episode.
Yeah. 50 is a nice really round number, so it's really easy to keep track of instead of going by, well, again, we've talked about this. Our first episode was episode 0, so we're already off by one.
True.
And then, like, we're off kilter by, like, if you go every 52 episodes, so long as we keep going every single week, then it's like, well, the year's 52, then 104, and then 156.
That's too
it's
much.
Just weird numbers, right? So we just said 50 is our sort of kind of year-long celebration, and look back and just honestly pat ourselves on the back for keeping at it and doing this thing for as long as we have. And
and we're here to pat you on the back. If you've been a listener since episode 1, or if you've gone back and listened to all of them, you deserve a pat on the back too.
Yeah, in fact, we will be having a public meetup at your local coffee shop. Line up, we'll pat you on the back.
That's right. You heard us here. We're local meetup at your local coffee shop.
All of them.
We'll see you there.
Everyone you can think of, we're there.
Jot down the time and date. Local coffee shop, we'll be there.
I wouldn't give a date or time. But
I know that's the point, right?
We'll be there yesterday.
Like, is there a hidden message? That's right. What's that meme that like the Denny's, like the band that's playing at a Denny's?
I don't know.
Or is that what
meme
like an
is
audio
this?
word? It's like a metal band that's playing at a Denny's. They're like, "Thank you, Denny's," or something like that. Or it might literally be "F you, Denny's." It could be that. And then they're like playing in a Denny's. You can look it up, like rock band in a Denny's. It's a real thing.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen this rock.
It's hilarious.
Band. That's not how you spell band. Band in a Denny's.
But I can't remember exactly what they say.
The Denny's Grand Slam. Is that what it's called? Oh, what
just
the
looks like
F
a
is up,
dingy-
Denny's?
That's what it is. What the F is up, Denny's? And they start like jamming out.
Yeah,
That could be us, just with 2 microphones like comedians.
I love that because we used to meet up at a Denny's like every Friday.
We did.
So we could have been that group, just being an absolute nuisance to Denny's. We could have done that. An absolute nightmare.
There's a reality where that would have happened too.
There's an alternate universe where instead of doing a podcast, we meet up at Denny's every week and just jam. Badly.
Dude, I tell you what, if we still live near each other, it'd be fun to do like an on-location Denny's podcast. And like I'd get like a microphone that's like meant to pick up room noise like really well, like omnidirectional. So then like you can hear when the waiter or waitress comes up and like lays our coffee down and brings her food in. It could be a thing, like an atmospheric thing.
And I love the idea that you said it's an on-location Denny's podcast. So the podcast is about Denny's related things, traveling to different Denny's, sponsored by Denny's, obviously.
We've given Denny's a lot of our money over the years. We should, if there's a sponsorship in the works here, I think that should happen.
We need to be compensated, Denny's. Like, I might go to Denny's for dinner, literally, like after we shoot this. Like, I am hungry and I need to eat something between now and later. So that's a very real possibility.
Well, maybe you should, just kind of put your foot in the door there and just maybe lay down one of your Profoundish cards and see where things go.
Wait, we have cards?
Profoundish business cards, yeah. That should be one of our goals for the year.
I mentioned this to this came up in, I think it was my 30-hour stream. So there's like no actual footage of this anymore. But we came up with this idea on stream that I need to come up with a Magic Man Mo trading card game where we just like make trading cards.
Oh, heck yeah.
And I would love to like incorporate Profoundish into that too. That would be hilarious.
That would be. There's a lot of things you could incorporate, like just fun little nods to like inside jokes we have and stuff.
I think that'd be, like we could have different expansion packs to this card game, and if we put both our brains together, it could be the Alex Duquette and Weston Hasty like multiverse, right? Where the Magic Man Mo, the Alex Duquette medley is just all his trading cards.
That there, what I love about that is like I think together we know about 8 people who would eat that crap up. Like they would love it. And then there'd be even slightly more people who would love if we did the other universe, the Alex, like Daddy Alex and Magic Mama, like universe. Like people would like that too.
And I love
that's
that
separate.
We know a couple people that could do the art for the cards, like easily.
Honestly, yes.
Right? Like this is a very real possibility.
Wow, that would be cool. Because if we did something like that, we could do like depending on how much it would cost us to make this, we could do like just like a limited, like we make like I don't know, 10, 20 units or whatever. I don't know how that would work, but
Right.
you know what I mean? Don't make too many and then just put them up there and see if anyone bites. I mean, I'd buy it.
There's a thing, like, we could do, I've seen this done with actual cards, because I've looked into this a long time ago, but you could do this with any merch, right? Like, if you have a Patreon set up, if someone's like, I don't know, whatever tier would cover the cost, of the product and shipping it out. It's just like, oh yeah, if you're a patron, you get sent every month a new card to add to your like trading card collection
Oh, that's awesome.
type thing. I don't remember who I saw. This was some YouTube channel that like does artsy stuff, and that's what they did for their Patreon is they made trading cards they sent to their patrons. And I'm like, that's amazing.
That's actually really amazing because, like, yeah, if they'd have like the, if it's an Alex Duquette medley card, it could be a picture or an animation of me at a computer with my instruments, and then at the, like, it has a quote in there too.
Yeah,
it says, a medley on average takes 50 hours to make. Just something like that.
And that's not a statistic. That's a quote. It's just in quotes,
Right,
Alex Duquette.
Because I say it all the freaking time. That would be hilarious.
I'm kind of into this. We'll put our heads
I'm
together.
into it too, right? We'll talk about this off camera. We also talked about maybe this could be in the closer future, maybe some sort of merch.
Yeah, like that.
Like
if
like
we don't go
shirts or something.
if we don't go the Patreon route, like we could do the cards. Like that could be merch. Obviously, we'd have to run that
I guess that's
ourselves.
true.
That wouldn't be through like Teespring doesn't make cards to my knowledge, but
Right. I know an easier start though because we already have like a logo and stuff. We could do just like shirts and hats or something. Or
no,
whatever.
for sure. We need to open up This is we've done a year of this, and we need to open up like a merch store for people. We need to open up maybe this trading card thing. We got to open up. We were talking about this before we started, like a subreddit. We don't have a subreddit.
Yeah, we need to open up. There's a lot of things we need to open up, but it's going to come because I think we've learned quite a bit. I've learned about definitely what I like, just things that I love about the show, and over this past year, and I'm really glad that we're doing it. I really can't believe though that it's been a year. Like I can't tell if it feels like a year or it doesn't feel like a year. You know that feeling? You just don't know.
It almost feels like 5 years, just because actually everything we've
Right.
done in the last year, it's like the podcast included, there's been so much. And then outside the podcast, just like life has been so much. Like the last 1 year has been 5 rolled into one, and it's just weird. Well, especially me, because I this was the same year that I went back to school and finished a degree.
Yeah.
I changed up a bunch of stuff on the channel. I had a bunch of I had a bunch of relationships in a year. So there was all kinds of crazy stuff going on just in my personal life, actually. That like this has been a weird, like there's been so many milestones just packed into 1 year.
Well, you bring that up. That's actually kind of one thing I wanted to mention too. Was one thing that I love about this. This is more on a personal level, but it's a great excuse for you and I to like just talk and keep up with each other's like personal lives, like stuff that we just talk about off the pod too. That just as friends, because obviously, as you know, we were friends first.
Right.
And, it's nice because, it doesn't matter. We've talked about how we kind of didn't really communicate much for a couple of years and we kind of got back at it and everything. And like, that's by no one's fault in particular. Just life happens. And when you're not living really close to each other, it just, that stuff kind of happens. But this is a great way for us to keep in touch and make something at the same time. It's kind of a no-brainer. I'm still surprised it took us this long to finally decide to do this.
Well, it's because, like you said, we just kind of fell out of touch. When you're going to school together, because like we went to high school together and we went to college together for a little bit. When you're like in a school together where you're like seeing each other every now and again, you kind of keep up. But then eventually you split off, go to your own ways in life or whatever. And relationships as an adult take like effort to keep up. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
If you don't message somebody, then like you're not talking to each other. And that doesn't have to mean anything. Like I love that whenever we get together with any of our friends, it's just kind of like, oh no, time's passed. We're just immediately, like we've always been friends.
Right.
But, I know personally, I'm kind of introverted. I'm kind of in my own head or whatever. I get busy doing a thing, I'll like forget everyone else exists, right? I'm not like ignoring anybody. I'm not trying to like lose anybody. I'm just doing my own thing, where it's like, oh, because you and I make this podcast, that's an excuse to, I can actually keep up with Alex because I'm going to be talking to him this week when we do the podcast. So
right. It really just ends up, for our friendship in particular between us, it works out so well because one of the biggest things we've always had in common is just our commonality in enjoying making things on the internet. And it's just a great way to kind of, it's two birds, one stone. Because of the commitment level we're putting into this, we're doing this, maybe not recording every week, but we're putting out an episode every week, which means we're at least very frequently communicating and keeping up. And I love it. It's great. Not that I wouldn't anyway, but it just gives us a much better, I don't know, just that commitment really helps, I think. And like you said, it is effort.
Yeah. Because you do have to dedicate the time to it. Like, especially as adults, people start getting careers and families and things that you do that keeps you busy, that, like, for us to carve out the time to, like, do the podcast requires carving out that time. So that's why it takes effort,
Right. But yeah, I'm definitely loving it. I just remember the conversation we had because it all started really because you came down to visit me in Memphis, and then I think we didn't have the conversation about it until you went back to Illinois.
We had a different conversation about, we wanted to go in because we talked about doing something together. We didn't talk about podcasts though, and we had a conversation about maybe doing like a sort of businessy video editing duo type thing or something like that. We kind of talked about doing like a freelance project thing because you've been trying to get into freelance, and we talked about that. And then it was after I left, you like messaged me like, yo, I think it was you that messaged me first, like, what about a podcast, dude? And I'm like, whoa, yeah.
Whoa,
whoa,
dude.
And we're like, we could put in like minimal effort, take very little time. And then we ended up really loving the idea so much that we put a lot more effort in than we intended, which
we
is
put
totally
more
fine.
effort into than anticipated. that is so true. I mean, once again, it's still there still could be like a ton more. Like, I don't feel like it's a huge workload or a burden or anything, but there is more than I think we thought we would. But it's but it's from passion of it though. Like, we really enjoy this.
Well, it was like when I say no effort, some of the effort that we put into making this podcast, like, we sit down with a topic in mind, we sit down with a game in mind, we sat down and made some like ads to put in between, which we haven't recorded any new ones in a while as of recording this, and I want to record some new ones for at least my reads, and I'm sure you do too. Actually, you may have, I forget now if you've added some along the way, since you've got your album out or whatever. You need to get one out for your album.
I do actually, yeah.
Yeah.
I will do that.
We've got all these elements in. Alex put together some music. We put together that that glasses and eyebrows logo, and
yeah, like, well, that's kind of another thing I wanted to touch on too. Is I really feel like you and I have just kind of naturally fallen into just our respective lanes with the work that we do for it too. Like I did the music, but I also edit the audio together. And I also do like the descriptions and then the titling and all that stuff, which I know sounds like a very small amount, but
honestly, you end up doing more work than I do, is what it seems like.
Well, I was going to say, I know Weston understands that actually saves a crap ton of time, because if you want to do descriptions right, you're trying to throw some keywords in there at the beginning, and you want to use words that pop out, and same with titling. So I send that all to him, and then he edits the video, which I still think is quite a bit of work, but I think we have a good balance, in my opinion. So I think the resulting product is, I don't know, I love doing Profoundish. It's super fun.
I do too. I look forward to making these every week and then getting them all like released out and just kind of like seeing how each one does or whatever. And
yeah,
I enjoy doing it.
It's always fun too. Like, one idea that we kept pretty much from the beginning, I don't know whose idea it was or if it just kind of naturally came together, but the idea of usually it's a mystery to the other person what the topic's going to be. That's always fun too.
Yeah, we've kept it, because there have been a few times where we not so much revealed the topic per se, unless we're trying to plan something special, like for the holiday ones. But
yeah,
when we're trying to do the games, a lot of times those are like secret to the other person, but there have been a few where we've had to come in like prepared with a few stuff, so that you have to tell the other person what to come in with. Like, I need you to have a list of words and groups or whatever, so we can play this type of game. So, but we're still kind of mysterious.
That's almost more intriguing too.
Yeah.
Because like you never know. I actually want to go back to that because I was thinking the one we usually do that for, at least a game that I kind of brought to the table originally, was like the quote unquote improv game. We did an episode where we had to pitch a podcast, right? That's where Flagpole Pig came from.
Flagpole Pig.
Yeah,
I called that. We're going to talk about some of the games that we've done here in a little while, but I grouped that into Snake Oil because it's kind of like that game that you really enjoy, Snake Oil, where you kind of put cards together and you have to come up with, in that game, an invention of some kind. But we've done it with podcasts, where we had to have a list of words and we like invented podcasts off of that. And we also did that once. We smashed together a bunch of titles for video games. If you remember that one.
No, we did video. Well, maybe we did that. I thought we did the video game one, but we were putting elements of video games together to make a new game.
Oh, it wasn't titles, but we were making video games. Yeah.
But same concept though. That was super fun too. Some of those we could go back to. I'm like, there's some that like I always look forward to doing like more than others, but I'm like, we just did that. We can't do it again. We got to spice it up.
Unless you're in a very particular arc of Profoundish.
I was hoping. Okay, yeah. I was going to say we can't forget. This is really like an episode for anyone who's listened all the way like through the podcast so far. If you haven't, go back and listen. They're fun. But yeah, the arc. Let's talk about that. The
Never Have I Ever arc of Profoundish.
That was literally what, 4 or 5 episodes of yours?
It was 5 of mine, and it was 1 of yours, because you wanted to do one, and you're like, well, surely Weston won't just keep hammering on these, and I did.
Well, I guess one nice thing, though, is that from the listener's perspective, it's like, okay, Weston's is over, Alex is going to do something different, until that one episode where I did do it.
Right. And I don't remember now how many, because I think we did a Never Have I Ever of something. I forget what special we start. I think we start on a special because I think it was in February. We were doing kind of like Valentine's-y stuff, and I was looking for like couple stuff for like the theme of love or whatever. So it was one of those that we started on, and then you did you did a video games Never Have I Ever, but then I had started that Oprah's list, so we had to keep going.
If you count my episodes, that's like 8 to 10 weeks of just Never Have I Ever. I don't know. Like, I feel like that'd be kind of fun though. Like, as I'm just trying to think from like the listener's perspective. Maybe I'm just trying to justify, but going, okay, what's going to be this week? Rubbing your hands together. What's going to be this week?
I can just imagine if you hated the Never Have I Evers, that was just 2 months of, I guess I'm just going to tune out Profoundish now. This podcast used to be good. Now it fell off.
Those are fun. I also want to get back and we've only done a couple, but I want to do more Tiny Tuber episodes.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing you and I always talk about too, is just the art of being a YouTuber, whatever that means. And that was actually, I think we talked about this before already, but so I apologize for being a little repetitive, but we actually technically somewhere have episodes of an old podcast called Tiny Tuber Tales. They have to be somewhere still. I think I have video at least, if nothing else.
Oh Lord, I'd have to look. It would have been in a folder somewhere that I'm sure I would have kept. So it's either in a folder on this very computer, like the stuff that I have, or it's in my external hard drive, maybe.
I know I have the video because I think I accidentally came across it like a year or two ago when I was like cleaning out my Google Drive, and I definitely didn't delete it. So it's somewhere in there. But yeah, we had, I think, 10 episodes done, and we filmed it. It was going to be a video podcast. This was before I moved, so it had to have been like 2017, maybe 2018.
Yeah, something like that, maybe.
And I don't know why it never went out, but I'm glad that we kind of brought that back. I
can tell you exactly why it never went out. I fell off.
Okay,
I didn't finish. I just didn't finish them because I was at the time that we were doing that. I was spearheading a lot of the actual like the editing, putting it out, blah blah blah, and you were the co-host. You were the person, the other personality, and I think you did some music for it, which I ended up stealing and using for my own YouTube channel when the podcast didn't happen. Isn't that technically what you're using for a Hasty Podcast? Oh, that's what it is.
Did I make that for a Hasty Podcast?
No, you made it for Tiny Tuber Tales, and then Tiny Tuber Tales never happened, and then eventually when a Hasty Podcast happened, I stole the music for Tiny Tuber Tales from my podcast.
To be honest, I actually like that more for a Hasty Podcast because it's very just kind of, you're just chatting with me. It's the morning, you got your coffee, and just kind of little, I like it because it's very chill.
Yeah, it's very chill.
I wrote that for Tiny Tubers, though, because I wanted to make music that, quote unquote, felt tinkery. Like it's a tinkery kind of song. Whatever, you can take that as however you'd like. But for me, that's what I came up with in my head. Like, it's kind of tinkery because we tinker with our channels. We're always trying new things. Learning, figuring things out. But I actually really like it for your podcast. So, but anyway, Tiny Tubers. I love doing those episodes. We've only done a couple, but we should definitely do more because we have plenty more to say because we always say it to each other.
And by a couple, I actually tried to, I think I wrote them all because I was making a list of all the games we've played on the podcast. And then I was like, should I count Tiny Tubers as a game or not? Because it's not really a game. But I tried to count them. I think we literally only did 2 from what I could tell. Like, I sifted through mostly all of the intros to our podcast, trying to refresh my memory. Like, what the heck did we talk about? And I only found 2. We only did 2 Tiny Tubers in the 50 episodes we've done.
It's time for more then. Yeah, you're right, because we did the origin, starting a YouTube channel.
And then we did analytics.
I think the other one was analytics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's plenty more to go over then. And it seems like, at least on YouTube itself, where we put our video versions of the podcast, people at least seem to respond to that more than some other episodes. So I wouldn't mind talking about that some more.
Our sample size on that is very small, but it seems.
Yes, but within
and by that I just mean we have the 2 episodes. Oh wait, we'll release the 3rd Tiny Tuber, and that always does well on YouTube, and it'll be like nothing. It'll be like, oh, never mind.
I see what you mean. That's true.
Yeah, small sample size. We only have the 2 to go by.
Right. But, so we'll see. But yeah, we do plan on doing more of that too, because that's always fun to talk about. And that's a great way for us just to kind of, because it is nice sometimes when we talk and we don't have a game at the end or whatever. Like, we can just kind of chat, and kind of like today's episode. I kind of like that too, and that's a great excuse.
Kind of like a regular podcast.
Exactly, like our initial plan.
Yeah, that sounds about right. This is what this was going to be. I have a question for you.
Yeah,
if you had to guess, including Tiny Tubers, if you had to guess, roughly how many games do you think we've done?
There's I don't want to.
Obviously, we do one nearly every episode. I mean, groups of games, right? Like, we've done 6 Never Have I Evers, right? So that's one category.
But you just mean how many? Yeah, I see what you mean. I'm going to say, out of different, activities / games we've done, I'm going to say we probably cycle through, I'm going to say 12. Is that too high of a number?
It is not, because to my count, I tried to group these as best as I could. To my count, we did 20.
20 different kinds of games?
Yes.
Wow.
And
that's pretty good.
Several are one-offs that I didn't have, I didn't feel fit into any of the other groups, so I left them as their own thing, something we did one time. And then there's only been a few of these that we did a lot of times, and several that we did 2 or 3 times.
Okay. I like that number. I'm glad I know there's obviously, like you said, some that we haven't really repeated yet, but that doesn't mean we can't. And we just need to be reminded of what those are.
There's a few specials we had that were long, and we did a few games in them. So the Christmas episode had a few games in them. The Valentine's one had I counted that as 3 games, but it was 3 quizzes. So the quiz was the game.
Yeah.
And we did them 3 times. So I counted that as one thing.
Which that makes sense. I will say I don't know if this is I don't know how interesting it is to listen to. I assume it is, but like I loved the 20 questions that we did on the Christmas episode.
Yeah, and that was one of them. We
That was
only
fun.
did one 20 questions game. I'm actually kind of surprised.
Because I remember that getting kind of intense at the end. I can't remember why, but I remember like it was like, oh my God, that's it.
It's like, what are we I don't even remember what mine, my, because we were 20 questioning like a gift to each other. And I think I had like an accordion for you or something. It was a musical instrument of some kind. No, it was a ukulele. So you're trying to guess a ukulele.
Like, it was kind of in theme for what you were giving me. Like just in theme in terms of, I play music, right? For you, I think it was a fish tank. If I recall correctly. Like I was just trying to be as difficult as I could. I think you got it right at the end. I think we got really close, though.
I think
you're like,
both of us.
What is this? You're like, you were bouncing around, I think.
I think both of us got it, but it was like after the 20 questions. Like we went all the way to
probably
it.
Right. Those are, I will say this too, that one was a really fun one in particular to make from the editor side. Because, most of the quote-unquote editing that's done, I mean, yeah, I guess you edit stuff together too with like the sound waves and all that. But like for that one, I did like a bunch of sound editing.
Yeah.
Like I added that Christmas music, and then I added a few extra noises in there too for various things. That was just super fun to make, and I don't know. I'm looking forward to whatever we're going to do for our next Christmas episode. We don't know yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
We're going to start recording that next week, everybody. We're going way in advance on this.
Well, we talked about this too, I think, offline, where for a while we were so, like, we were really far ahead. We felt like we were living through these holidays in the second half of the year.
Right.
Like, but we were like a month before it. Like, we did Halloween, and it was like the beginning of September or something. I don't know. I can't remember the exact thing, but it was crazy.
Behind the scenes for everybody. Yeah, when we launched the podcast, we wanted to make sure we had several episodes in the bag so that, like, if there was any hang up or hiccup for any reason, we would still have episodes coming out. We wanted to get ahead of the curve before we launched. So we, like, recorded, I don't know what, like, how many we had done by the time we started. It was like 4, 5, 6, like, episodes, right, when we started. So we were like a month to a month and a half ahead of time. So we would be right away. We were like getting ready to prepare for like Halloween, right? Like we launched in August, so it was like we were recording for Halloween in September, and then by the time like we were celebrating Halloween, in reality we were already making like the Thanksgiving episode. By the time we were making the Thanksgiving episode, we would already like by the time Thanksgiving happened, we had already made the Christmas episode. It was like we were like a month ahead.
I will say that era of recording, so I look back at that particular era and I'm like, I really liked that time. And I realized something. It had nothing to do with what, like, it wasn't because I liked it better then. It was, I like recording when it's dark outside, I learned. And because I felt cozier, I had like I always get candles in the fall. I had candles up because you and I remember we talked about that, like candles and incense and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm looking forward to the fall again because I like it when it's dark and cozy in the studio. And like when even if we record at night right now, it's still, at this point after recording, it's still light a little bit past 8 o'clock still. So like, I don't know. I like to feel cozy when I record, I guess. We talked about dropping our pants when we record. So that's pretty cozy.
I do that frequently, especially here in the summer because it's hot and sticky in here.
Right. Exactly.
We've had crazy heat. Today's not terrible,
Yeah,
but I do have to turn. I usually have a fan on, but when we record, I turn it off so that you can't just hear just in the microphone the entire time. But I have it off, and I'm just like, I'm about to start stripping.
I know, and usually you have to pay for that.
You have to pay to see it,
not you.
You have to go to my OnlyFans.
Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, you're not going to pay someone for you to strip. Please, just let me strip, please.
I'll give you $5 if I can strip. What?
Honestly, I'd be like, you know what? Okay, I'm getting paid. Whatever. You're just going to strip for a second, then I can get the hell out of Dodge after that.
I can survive seeing a naked man if he wants to give me money to get naked. I can survive that.
Heck yeah, man.
Get paid to get flashed.
Like whatever. Like the service has to exist.
If I give you $10, can I moon you? It's like okay. Yeah, it's like a reverse stripper.
Right. I don't know, like, I feel like, I don't know, I'm sure there's plenty of people that would say no, but I just don't see reality where I would be like, well, I would probably ask a few, like, follow-up questions, like, there's nothing that, there's, you know, I'd go, like, there's nothing you want me to, like, I'm not going to touch anything. You just want me to watch you moon me, right? And then they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I mean, yeah, give me the $10 first and I'll watch you moon me. I don't care.
I love
like,
that.
Whatever.
I love that there would be follow-up questions.
There would, because, you know, I was about to say, yeah, I mean, yeah, but then again, if they go, I want you to moon me, and then as they give me the 10, or I want to moon you, they give me the 10, they go, but you have to touch my cheeks while I do it. Well, it's like, no, I'm not going to touch your cheeks.
Well, that's going to cost you extra.
I don't know you, you know. So, exactly, I touch your cheeks for 20, maybe. But
let's get the cheeks out first so I can see what we're dealing with. That might
let's see
change the price.
I'm going to ask you this too. Now, you're in a different situation with work, so I might have to change your reality a little bit for a second.
Okay.
But I like to ask these outlandish, like how much would it, like just these what's it called? What kind of questions are these? I just lost the word.
Hypotheticals.
Not rhetorical. Hypotheticals. Thank you.
You got it.
And I would ask these just really outlandish, like, hypothetical questions, like, to my coworkers, and I do it quite often. I'm sure they're annoyed by it, but one of the ones that people actually really liked was I said, okay, how much money is it going to take? And I didn't give them, like, a number to start. I just asked them, how much money would it take for you? No, we have a showroom. Actually, forget it. I think I changed it anyway. I think I said front door. That's right. I did change it. So I said, you're going to literally walk in to, like, your manager's office, give him the finger, say, F you, I'm out of here, take a crap right in front of the front door of the building, just drop down, take a crap, and then leave. How much money would it take? Right. And the numbers kind of ranged all over the place. You know, for people who didn't like the job so much, you know, that the price, funny enough, was kind of lower. But I said, really think about it. Think about the consequences of this, right? And for future employment, that could affect future employment. It could, you know, unless you just don't put this on your resume, I guess. But a lot of the people I asked were there for, like, have been there for like 8 years or something.
Right.
So it's like the last thing you're going to want to do is just say, oh, I haven't worked for 8 years, you know. So I'm asking you, Weston, this could still hold true just because of your tenure, how long you've been there. How much money would it realistically take, do you think, for you to just, I know that you're, like, the manager of your store, but say you had to call, and maybe you don't want to say this, and that's okay too if anyone's listening. But I'm going to ask
$10.
$10. No. Here's what you got to do. It's a little different for you. You are going to still just take a crap at the front door, but you're going to have to call your superior and just call and say, hey, just to make sure that they know what you hate. It's Weston. F you. You're going to hang up the phone, and then you can already have pooped, and then you have to leave.
You can already have pooped.
You can poop first if you'd like. You could send a text of the poop by the door.
Ooh, that's a
and
good
just
one.
send the text and just say F you, and then you just leave. I like that better.
Like, and the scenario isn't that, like, I hate my job, my boss sucks, it's the worst thing. We're not changing the status of the job. Like, we're not doing a hypothetical job where that you hate the job and you're going to leave anyway. We're doing literally my job as it is now. What would it take?
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's such a, so like you said, there's, like, repercussions for this, right? You're clearly leaving this job. Unless you know your boss and you're like, listen, boss, I'm about to make my bag, and then I'll split some portion of it with you or something, right? But I'm going to be pooping in the building.
Okay, that scenario could not happen.
Okay, so you're for sure leaving. So you think to yourself, like, what a weird thing to put on, like, if you need to have a reference for this job, right? Like, I need to use this job as a reference if I move on to another job. Like, this has been my longest running job that I have the most qualifications for. Like, I'm going to use this as a reference. So, like, I can't do it for nothing. I can't do it for $10. But also,
well, of course not. Yeah,
because, like, if you could just say any amount of money, right? I could just say, well, yeah, $5 million. I never have to work again. You know what I mean?
Well, let's just say the minimum amount that you'd be willing to accept, or, like, you know, it has to be the minimum amount. but that you would be willing to accept.
I feel like the minimum amount is something like, and I feel like there'd be a negotiation. I'd want more because
There'd be follow-up questions.
There'd be follow-up questions. I feel like I'd probably want like a year's worth of my expected wages. That way, while I'm looking for other work, if it's very difficult because, I've pooped in an office and given my boss the bird or what, it might be kind of tricky to work around that. You know what I mean? So I feel like if you give yourself a year's worth of wages, then you can sit comfortably at basically unemployed for a year to figure out your next employment. And I feel like that's not too bad.
That's super fair. Yeah.
But if we're going like the cheapest, I don't know, $10,000.
Well, because even so, like, you can probably at least figure something temporary out.
Right.
And sit on that 10,000 for a short while, and I think you'd be just fine.
Like I can make like 10. Like I wouldn't want to go under 10 because I'm not gonna be like $1,000 because it's like, well, that doesn't. It's not even a week for me, man.
Nowhere.
That doesn't.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna do it. But like with 10,000, like I can make 10,000 stretch for a bit, and then like I don't know if I end up having like just nothing works for me anymore. I can always just go to make burritos at the Taco Bell or something. I don't know. Any fast food is always hiring, and like worst case scenario, I can go back into the fast food industry. I don't really want to,
right?
But I could. You know what I mean? If I leave if I leave my current job, I kind of want nothing to do with food, like ever again. Probably.
I don't blame you. I did food for a couple years, and that was enough for me to realize, yep, I'm done. I feel like they're always hiring and they're always looking for people, and obviously you've got plenty of great experience in that field, and it's like they would go even if they found out, like say you did for some stupid reason still put Subway or put it as your reference,
right? I probably would too. I would do all that and still use it.
And then say they call them and they get the answer like, well, this SOB took a crap on the floor, sent me a picture of it, and said F you. They would reach back out to Taco Bell and be like, all right, when can you start? Like, I just don't think it would change anything.
I also like, especially, so say I wasn't going to fast food, like my next job, it's like an actual like career 9-to-5 office job or something where you fill out a full resume, send it in, blah, 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 the whole 9 yards. Well, a very common one is like, well, what was your previous employment and why did you leave? And I love the idea of like previous employment, store manager. Why did you leave? $10,000.
Right.
I was paid to leave, so I did.
I mean, that's true. That would be true in that scenario.
Because I feel like someone that reads that resume is going to have follow-up questions. And they're going to want to know, like, hold on, what do you mean? And it's like some rich money bags was like, I will pay you to take a massive dump at your previous employment and quit. And I'm like, kinky, but all right, let's do it.
Right. Oh my gosh. Okay, this reminds me. I'm going to tell a quick story. This has nothing to do with that, but it's a similar setup. At least with the follow-up questions thing. I'll tell that, and then I figured after that we can probably get into our tier list with games and stuff.
We can do that.
So I think I told you this before, but this was a long time ago, and I think anyone listening is going to enjoy this story. So I don't know why I just thought of this, but. This was the time, so we're going back to high school, all right?
Okay.
I believe this was sophomore year, if I recall correctly. And what I always used to do is I would go up to, so we had our band room was like upstairs of our high school, and they had a bunch of practice rooms, and if you don't know what a practice room is, basically it's a room where musicians can, like people in the band can go practice, right? And some of them have piano, some of them don't. It just depends on what instrument you're playing and what you need to do. Well, I would go up there and just play the pianos with a couple buddies of mine. And I remember every morning before class would start, like before you'd have to get to... Actually, this was because, side note, we used to have homeroom, or advisory as we called it, at the beginning of the day, but then halfway through school, it changed to the end of the day. And I just remember still getting to school at the same time, or maybe a little earlier, I guess, just because I was used to it, and I would just go into the band room and practice rooms and play. Anyway, that's a side note.
Yeah.
I went up there like any other morning. Let's just say it was like a Wednesday morning, and I saw my friend who I always hang out with in the practice rooms, just we'd play and sing together. But there was another guy there, and I'll keep all the names out of this, of course.
Ooh, small town drama at our old high school.
I know, right? I'm going to actually, just for the sake of it, I need to share names, so I'm going to make them up. So I usually would go to the practice rooms and hang out with Frank.
Okay.
It'd be me and Frank.
It's like that. Frank was the name of our first band director. That was his first name. So now I'm imagining it's...
This is not him. So anyway, Frank and I, that is hilarious, though. I did not think of that. Frank and I would hang out in the practice rooms. This was a normal day. I'd go up there, and Frank was in the practice room, but I noticed he was with Bill, who's another funny name we like to talk about sometimes, but nobody that we know, or not a real person. But anyway, I didn't know Bill very well. Okay, like he went to our school, whatever, but I didn't really know him that well. But I knew that he lived in the same small town as Frank, and they were kind of buddies. But they had a digital camera. Once again, this was, over 10 years ago now. And they had a digital camera, and they were looking at the pictures in the camera, at least from what I saw, and they were cracking up, like laughing at it. I'm thinking, what is going on? So I walk into the practice room, because it already seems a little different. When I went in there and said, hey, Frank, and then, like, hey, Bill, he's like, hey, and then, what are you guys laughing about? And then I think Frank is the one that grabbed the phone or grabbed the digital camera from Bill and showed it to me. And it was a picture of a penis. Okay.
But
do you remember the story?
Penis? I don't think I remember this story.
Oh, this is great. Okay, this is awesome. I probably haven't told this in years, but so I just remember thinking, okay, what the hell is going on, guys? Whose penis is this, and why is it on this like camera, and why are you laughing at it, right? Well, I guess it turns out it was. They explained it to me that it was Bill's penis. Remember, I would hang out with Frank.
Right.
It was Bill's penis, and I'm like, well, why though? Like, why did you take a picture?
Why are we looking at it?
Well, the story got weirder because it turns out it was Frank's camera. So I'm thinking, okay, wait a second, what's going on here?
Bill stole the camera and just took a dick pic with it.
But they're both just laughing with it, and I said, did somebody take this picture? And then Bill was, no, I said, who took this picture? And all Bill would ever say is, a friend. That's all he would say. I will never. But he had like a nasally voice, like, a friend. Well, what the hell is that supposed to mean, a friend?
So there's a mysterious third party here that was the actual photographer.
And like Frank wasn't mad. Like he was like, that's hilarious. Like, I don't know. Anyway, just a weird start to the day. I did not really hang out in that room that day. I just went to class. And everything was kind of okay, but word was there was murmurs. There were whispers around the school of this dick pic kind of going around, but not on a phone, just this camera. It wasn't like a picture was going around. It was that people were spreading the rumor that somebody took a picture of their thing and it's somewhere in the school, right? And I just remember this was right after lunch, and I remember like talking, going, yeah, I saw it. I think it was Bill's. Like Bill said that he took the picture, but it was Frank's phone. I don't get it. And I wanted to talk to Frank more about it because him and I were really close. And like I figured he would like tell me like, did you just take this picture? Like, what's going on? But I didn't have time. I didn't have time until study hall. So because him and I had that class together. He was an upperclassman, and it was like the only class him and I had together. So we went into study hall together, and we sat down next to each other. And we were getting ready to talk about it because we're like, man, everyone's talking about this picture. What's going on? Is something going to happen? Well, as soon as study hall hit, the intercom came on, and it was the vice principal, and it was I believe the first name called. It was, Bill, please come to the vice principal's office. Thank you. And then like Frank and I are like, oh my God, it's happening, right? And so we're just sitting there. We ended up not really talking. I didn't ask him any more questions because we were just kind of getting nervous about it. And a few minutes went by, and I said, you know what's going to happen, right? He's going to call you next. It's your camera. Like, you will be next. And then soon enough, right, the intercom goes up. Frank, please come to the vice principal's office. And then I remember, like, he was so pale.
He didn't do anything wrong, though. He just had a camera.
Like, well, it made me wonder, like, it was his camera. Like, did he take the picture? They live in the same small town.
You know,
did he actually take the picture?
Two
I don't know.
Completely consenting high school kids
taking a picture of a penis.
We can see why this is not probably okay, but also, like, if it's just between them two,
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, like, and it was just, you know, they were just hanging out, right? I don't know, but to this, well, I'll go to that in a second. Anyway, he was called to the office. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, and people were asking me because at that point, people in study hall kind of knew what was going on, and I was dumb enough at this point to like be telling people, yeah, I mean, I saw the picture, right? And I was saying that all day. So Frank came back into the. No, I didn't see Frank again. That's right. I didn't see him again.
Ever.
So what happened was,
I saw him again in life.
Yeah. Ever again. So what happened was after that, there was some silence for a while, and I remember it was near the end of study hall, and I was just getting ready to go to my next class. I thought, is he still talking to him? Was he sent home? Like, what's going on? Well, about 5 to 10 minutes before study hall was over, I wasn't getting any work done that day. I remember that. I couldn't focus. I got a. Alex Duquette, could you please come to the vice principal's office? I go, oh no, I gotta go.
I didn't do anything. I just walked in on it.
I know. So I got super nervous. Like, this is one of those moments, I don't know if you feel this way or not, but sometimes, like, I could be driving down the road and there could be like a police officer behind me and I'm not doing anything wrong and I feel like I've got dead bodies and drugs in the back of my car. I just feel that way just for a moment. Like, it's a quick, like, rush of nervousness, then it goes away.
Like,
you know
what
I'm talking about?
What am I doing wrong? And I don't want to be in trouble. Yeah.
Right. So I was feeling this. I thought all I saw was a picture. All right, I'm just like I'm just a witness here, you know. But I thought
you're practicing your speech in your head, like
exactly. So I go in there and I sit down, and I was. Very rarely, I was once or twice, I'm not going to say I never was, but I was very rarely called to the vice principal's office. There was a couple times where I was, for good reason, but that was from another era of my high school years with an old girlfriend. Weston knows some of those stories.
Yeah.
And, which could be stories we tell another time, maybe. But not today. So anyway, I went in there and I sit down. I remember it was something along the lines of, like, he was like, Alex, I think you know why you're here. I'm like, yeah. And I remember, like, my thinking process was I just want to be as direct and as serious as possible about this just to get this done.
You should have played it off.
I want to be in there.
Like being pulled over, like, no, officer, I do not know what happened.
Yeah. Could you please tell me? Anyway, so he said something along the lines of, Alex, you know, so there's this camera that I believe, you know, you're friends with Frank. He's got this camera, and I think him and Bill showed you a picture on it. Is this correct? And I'm like, yes, yeah, I saw a picture. And I kept it I answered the question. And he said, could you tell me what was exactly kind of what you saw on that picture?
You're like, in how much detail?
Right, how much detail, right? And, well, I remember, like, I still will never forget the reaction. So I remember I heard him say that, and I thought, in my head, I had a quick moment of, like, I'm just going to be as straight and forthcoming and very just kind of blunt as possible. And I said, well, Frank showed me the camera, and I saw a close-up image of Bill's penis. I just said it like that. And I remember he looked at me, and there was like this 10 seconds of silence. I swear. It felt like forever. And he went, that's just weird. That's all he said. And you know who I'm talking about with our vice principal, so you can probably just see him saying, it's like, that's just weird.
It's just weird.
And then I think that was kind of like a moment of relief for me. And I was just kind of like, yeah, it is pretty weird. Yeah. And he said, all right, thank you for being honest. That's all. You can go or whatever. And so, like, I was the witness that had to go in there, and I sat back down. So here's what happened.
Okay.
So it turns out that Bill was, well, I'll start with Frank. Frank, my buddy, with his camera, he was taken out of school for a day. Like, the rest of the day, he was taken out. And then he could just come back the next day. So, like what's that called? Not a suspension. I guess, right? Just a half-day suspension, I guess.
I guess. Out of school suspension.
So he was taken out for the rest of the day. It's possible that maybe it was the next day, too. I can't remember. And it very well could have been like an in-school, too. Like, he was just, like, in, like, one room all day. I don't know.
Right.
But I just know that we didn't see him for the next day and a half, and then I knew it was a suspension. The Bill was taken out of school for a whole week.
Oh.
So he was suspended for a week. So I don't know if we got more information. Like maybe, I never got the full story, but maybe like Bill is up to something a little bit more. I don't know, but I'm assuming somebody spilled the beans somewhere about everything that happened. But yeah, I'll never forget. He just kept saying, "A friend. Who took this picture? A friend." Like, who is that? But
if you're out there, we want to know who took that picture.
Yes.
I want to know who the mysterious photographer was that got away scot-free.
I have no idea now why this thought of that story, but it's such a fun story to tell, and I think it had something to do with like the follow-up questions. Like, it's such a weird proposition. I got follow-up questions.
I have follow-up questions.
And but just the bluntness of just me telling him, yep, it was Bill's penis, and then weird. But when you asked me, I told you what I saw on it. I didn't want to lie.
Because I guess from the vice principal and the staff, like the concern there is that like with a photo of someone's penis, like if you start showing that to people, like I think you said it was on a camera, but if it was on a phone, if you start sending it to people, like it could be a problem. But also like
that's a child, technically, it's a minor, so
like
that's a whole thing too.
It can get out of hand, but it is kind of funny that it's just like these two dumb kids in the band room showing each other a dick pic, and now they're suspended over it. It's just the level of stupidity is hilarious, but like not stupidity in any way where it's like nothing malicious happened, but it could have, but it didn't. So it's just stupid.
Right. That's partially just a product of the time, because I feel like now, like if that would have happened today, same exact situation, but it was on a phone, how easily that would have gotten around the whole school?
Oh, easily.
Like, you know what I mean? And it would have. Like, I guaranteed would have. If it was like a small school like that, stuff like that doesn't happen all the time. So when it does, it's a big deal. That would have happened. But yeah, just a weird thing. But I think my favorite thing looking back, I didn't think it was funny at the time, other than I felt relief. But yeah, when vice principal went, man, that's weird. Because like that was such a human moment that I never really saw in him, because I never had a big relationship with him. But just that moment, he just seems so real. Like, just a moment of, like, these dumb kids. Like, that's such a weird thing to do. It's like, it is a weird thing to do. But, like, they're also, like, 15, 16-year-old kids or something. Maybe a little older, because I think that might have been juniors. They were upperclassmen. So
I have to imagine when you work in administration. I went to school briefly for going into education, but I never, like, got an administrative job at the school. But say you're, even a teaching job, but, like, if you're in administration or you're teaching for long enough, I have to imagine you're always constantly surprised by just what the kids are coming up with, like, to do, what the new thing is going to be, what new Tide Pods are being smuggled into school to be eaten, whatever it might be. There's just always something new, and I imagine that that's the feeling every single time, where it's like, that's just strange. That's just weird.
Right.
Why?
And it's just the kids. I bet, I don't know, maybe I guess any age, but I just feel like that middle school age would just be the weirdest.
Yeah, especially middle school, because all the kids are going through so much change. One, from elementary to like middle school is a big change. Bodies are changing. The way classes are laid out might be changing. You're getting multiple teachers. Everything's new, different, and everyone's weird. But
you're also just young enough still just to be really just kind of dumb.
Really stupid.
Like super dumb.
Yeah.
So, it's just that right age for, I'm sure, all that weird stuff to happen. But
maximum
anyway, I wanted to tell that.
Well, I don't remember how that story came to be, but I love it, and I want to see it animated. Anyway.
Listen, one day, somebody listening could do it. Pinata, get on it. Gella, if you're listening, get on it. Somebody can get on it.
When we start rolling in the sponsorship money that we're definitely going to get this year, this is the year for it. I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to hire somebody. It's going to happen.
Heck yeah, I'll pitch in for that. Absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you what.
You want to...
we're
about to go into the same thing.
We're going to rank our games. We're going to do a kind of a game. I decided that was the perfect opportunity to sip some coffee. We're going to rank our...
I was like, did he go?
Yeah, I left. We're going to not rank our... Well, I don't know. We can rank them, I guess, if we wanted to. But tier list our games that we've played on the podcast over the course of this year and decide which ones were our favorite. I don't think any of them were ever bad. So I don't think we're going to see any F ranks or whatever. But we're going to just rank our favorites S, A, B, C, whatever we feel like feels right. Whatever feels natural.
Yeah.
I do have
I like this.
I have a question for you, though. We talked about the Never Have I Ever arc before and how we've done a lot of that as a game. Do you think it's the game that we've played the most?
Wait, hold on. Say that again. I'm going to be honest with you. I got distracted.
I'll be honest.
I need you to ask that again. I don't want to lie to you.
ADD kicked in, and I need to change topics right now. No,
I'm so sorry. Ask that one more time.
No. Do you think we played the Never Have I Ever the most? What do you think is our most played game?
Oh, you know what's funny? I actually feel like that's not. I feel like you're asking that because it's actually not. I think we've done. Well, what else would we have done more?
Right.
Now that I think about it, you know what? I'm going back. Never mind. I'm going to go back. I think we have done Never Have I Ever the most.
I've got it here. It is tied for the most because we had that long arc. It is tied for the most. Do you have any idea what the other one is?
Yes, I do. It is the one where we're like staffing those places for employment.
It is not. It's tier lists.
Oh,
which we're doing right now.
Duh.
It's tier lists.
So what's the number?
6. We've done 6 tier lists.
Okay.
And we've done 6 Never Have I Evers, which I like because in our description of Profoundish, unless we change it into the new year or whatever, is a show where 2 longtime friends share their life perspectives, make tier lists, take nostalgia trips, and play strange games. I think it's funny that actually has checked out. That our number one game has continued to be tier lists hilariously.
That is good. I like it. That makes sense now that I think about it.
We'll start there with tier list. Where do we want to rank tier list on whether or not it's been favorite, not favorite, like S tier, A tier? What are we thinking?
How far? Well, I guess how far down are we going? Just so I know. Like, what's the range here?
Anything. You can make it up.
Okay.
S can be the highest unless we decide to invent double S, and if we hate something, it can be like double D or something.
Well, I don't know if anybody hates double Ds, but let's not get on that conversation. No, I would say the tier lists it's a good, safe option. They're fun. I wouldn't say it's the most. I really like it, but I don't think it's like my absolute favorite, right? It's just it's a great way to chit-chat about different things, and it's fun to kind of learn each other's perspectives on stuff. I would probably put it kind of high, though. I'm thinking, assuming S is the highest, I mean, I'm thinking B to A categories. What do you think?
Because I think for me, the tier lists are fine, but I don't think they always they're not the best at bringing out our individual creativity. They bring us onto topics, and we can kind of go around. We can talk to each other about like what we think about certain things. Like when we were talking about here recently, we released the summer episode, right? Like whether or not we like hiking or grilling or whatever kind of more. Yeah. Or we've had some pretty fun tier lists that do bring out some of our creativity. Where like the like the sexy instruments one. Like
yeah, that was fun.
Whatever. I don't remember what that was. It was like sexy relation. Like who would you be in a relationship with as an instrument or whatever? It is like a trumpet or a trombone, whatever. That one was kind of fun. So sometimes they're really creative, and then sometimes they're more like traditional. So I think I'm kind of and I don't think it's bad. So I'm going to say like B category myself is a good start.
Okay. I think that's fair. You bring up a good point with it doesn't bring out for the most part our most creative selves, and that always makes it really fun too. Yeah, I'm fine with B.
And then since we've already talked about it, where would we put the Never Have I Evers?
So that's kind of a weird one because the Never Have I Evers are kind of similar,
right?
In terms of like the point that you made, but I do, from what I recall, because it's always something we could always go back to too. It's not like they're done now. I feel like that can actually spark greater conversation and like a lot more stories, and we learn a lot more about each other that way compared to a tier list, I think.
That's true.
So I do think it should go above tier lists. A tier list on the tier list. I don't think it's S, though. It's either like the highest B there is, or we can put it in A for now. That's kind of where I'm sitting.
Yeah, that's a good point where you can kind of bring up some really strange stories depending on the Never Have I Evers. I will say the one downside the Never Have I Evers have is that if you have a situation where like both of us are like, no, neither of us have done that thing, then we can't really talk about it. So it's like weirdly, you'll either have a really interesting story or you'll have like a spell of like nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is true.
Back and forth on that a little bit, and I know we kind of hammered it to death when we were doing them, but haven't done them since. And like we could definitely do one every now and again, and bring it back. I'm there with you with like I would put it in B territory.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't. Yeah,
above tier list.
Sure.
I think above tier list, and then I'm totally fine with that.
Because it's one of those things where it's like it's not amazingly better than tier list that I'm prepared to say A category. You know what I mean?
That's fair. That's fair. I understand.
All right. So those are we've talked about those. Oh, we've also talked about the quizzes. We talked about the quizzes already. We only did 3 quizzes, and they were the relationship quizzes that we did for the Valentine's Day special. So where would we rate quizzes? That one's tricky because we only really did it one time, but 3 times in that one time, and it was all very specifically couples related.
And it was also, that was one of our more, not trying to be goofy, but that was one of our more, like, profoundish episodes, right? So, you know, we had a lot more serious talks. You know, I put that in the same category, not like, obviously it's a different kind of activity, but a similar, like, category to, like, the moral stuff, or the push the button, right? Those things.
Yeah.
Because in terms of, like, at least the nature of what we're talking about. It's almost hard to pick because it's a totally different thing, right? It's not really so much about being just kind of goofy and fun. It is more about, hey, let's talk about this for a minute, you know? So how do you rank that, like in your opinion? I don't know.
It's weird. I think in some ways, which if we did more quizzes that weren't couples related, maybe we'd find out that there's like a wider like array of things that we could do with it. I think the way we had it, I think it brought up really profound conversation because we were talking about relationships, couples, the meaning of love and life. I think it was a good method of creating conversation, but it itself really wasn't a game, quote unquote. So in that sense, like I almost feel like quizzes were like maybe, and this is probably the lowest rank I'll give anything, not because quizzes are the worst, but because, you know, nothing we did was bad. Maybe C territory, just because it doesn't really force us to like make decisions about like the tier lists do or the Never Have I Evers. The quiz, I don't know, like it's presenting you a thing and you answer something, and I feel like we don't have control over the quiz, only the answer.
Yeah, that's
if
true.
that makes sense.
I'm kind of learning how. I'm kind of understanding how your criteria for ranking this too. You know what I mean? Because I think you're really kind of basing it off of, you know, the creative like input that we're you know, the creative effort we're putting into these things and stuff. Which
that's definitely
I don't know how. So with that, if I'm in that regard, I am kind of tracking with you. I get it. I was kind of giving it kind of merit though for being more of a profound thing, but it's a totally different thing, right? It's especially for ranking these as games or activities, not just a piece of content. I guess, you know, then I am kind of with you, because as an activity or a game, which is how we're ranking these. Yeah, I guess
you could disagree with me because if we have different kind of criteria for what we think is like the best stuff that we've done, I'm totally down with that conversation where, like, if you believe that we are profoundish, right? So if you want to say in that sense that actually, while the quizzes themselves weren't necessarily the best, like the best game that we had that brought out our individual creativity, but did bring out our best thinking, like critical thinking, you know, something like that, then maybe it actually should rate higher and we should do more. It's kind of tricky.
I was going to say, I do think, I know it kind of makes it a complicated criteria, but I do feel like that should play a factor, because that is a part of what the show is. Whether we've meant for it to be or not, it just kind of ended up being that way. Every once in a while where we really will have these, you know, in important kind of deeper conversations. And I think that serves just as much of a entertainment purpose in a totally different way, right? as a gamer activity would. So, but I'm also, as another criteria, putting kind of the fun level in it, and that is not nearly as fun. So,
but interesting.
But like the other things that we mentioned, I enjoy it the same, but it's not as fun. Does that make sense?
Right.
I enjoy it a lot.
Well, it's kind of like when you watch, like, I don't know, true crime or something. It'd be weird to call that fun, but it's engaging, and you can like find entertainment out of that. But you're not like, oh yeah, I watch true crime because it's hilarious. You watch it because it's engaging.
Exactly. Like that is just as engaging as doing a tier list or another activity that we do. But yeah, fun wouldn't be the right word. But I am thinking about fun with the criteria too, at least for me. So to balance that out, I would say I would probably, with that in mind, maybe move it up a little bit.
Put it at the bottom of B?
I'm okay with bottom of B.
I'm okay with that.
Because it's a one-off, because there's not many profoundish activities we've done. We've done a few, but not too many. So there's going to be kind of some weird ones in there, I think.
Yeah. We'll have a few of those pop up as we go. Here's one that we did a little bit more often. We did this 4 times. We had tournament brackets.
Those have always been really fun. I like those.
I mean, that was the first thing that we used to make the podcast. That we named the podcast with a tourney bracket.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we did. That was the start of it all.
That was the start of it all. So in that way, I think the tournament bracket has like almost a unique position in the podcast where like it's just like the grandpa game. It was the first game.
It's the granddad of profoundish activity.
Right.
I will say too, my memories of each one, because I still vividly remember these. I remember the screensavers one. I remember the food one. That one, both of those, there's one I'm missing.
And then the one that we just, is that one even out yet? The one that we just did on brain
animals.
Help. Animals, the animals one. Yeah, that just came out not long ago.
Yeah.
So that was our 4.
And all of those have way more laughs and more fun than like a tier list would. At least from our experience. Like there's more just like giggling, thinking about these weird pairings and matchups. So for that reason, I definitely think A at the least.
I really liked because we had that condiments one, right? So I just I love the antagonism, since you have to pit these things against each other and trying to find out the criteria about like why that one would beat the other. Like how we were dead set on, spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't watched that one, but definitely watch it. But we were like, we really wanted hot sauce to win. But like we couldn't let it win, because objectively what it had to face down was its exact counterpart in like the cooling effects of ranch.
That's right. That stuff is so fun. So I'm thinking A, man, for sure.
I want to give Tourneys an A.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't think it for the creativity levels, it hasn't quite reached the S status, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Super fun.
Now this one has been really fun. We've done this a lot of times as well. We've done this 5 times. The Would You Rathers, and this has taken a few different turns. Like we've done the Would You Rather Be a Millionaire?
Oh yeah,
those games. But we also had like the Black Friday special, the Would You Rather for the shopping items. The Would You Rather, I kind of called our Christmas special game, where we built a snowman and we had to choose between both of our suggestions. So would you rather put this on a snowman or that on a snowman? Yep. And we also had the like a weird like sponsorship episode. Like, would you rather take a sponsorship for this, but you have to do that? So we had
and I don't think you mentioned this one, or I might have missed you saying it, but also the sports car.
Yes, because that was a part of the Would You Rather Be a Millionaire, but that was like your version of it for getting the car.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay, yeah, I got you. You're dividing them out by kind of like the different...
Kind of by like groups. But yeah, we had the car one. That was classic, where like I got this real beater car with this what was it? Like some stinky dead fish drops out of the glove box every time you open the door. I think it was
a dead rat, yeah.
Dead rat. And then, but it made coffee. There was a coffee maker.
It made coffee, and for every like so many miles, you'd get like a subscriber or something.
Yeah, I was getting subscribers for every mile that I drove. That being said, I think the chairs were wood.
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable, but you're like, listen, Alex, I'm a sellout. If I'm getting subs, I'm doing it.
This was a real stinker of a car.
And I think it at a stoplight, it would project every thought you have or something like that.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Something like that.
Something
There's
like
an intercom that comes out. I think I went with... You're thinking.
Yeah, I think I went with that because I was like, I don't care what people are thinking. I'll be like, yeah, you cut me off, you jerk. Screw you. Who cares?
Right, exactly. Goodness.
That was one of the early ones. So that was like the second one we did. So this has another really special place in being one of the earlier games that we did play on the channel.
Yeah, and this was also... this came from you first. This was not one that we discussed prior to the show. This is one that you kind of came up with, and with its own, it's Would You Rather, but like with your own twist on it, with those weird
I had you
scenarios
build a
and
sandwich.
stuff.
Yeah,
right. And that was super fun, and that's what kind of started to make this take off. We're due for another one of those again soon. But
it's been a minute.
Though I think one reason for that is just because those do take more time, because you really have to kind of sit down and think about like the choices, like, okay, what, I want these choices to be difficult, that sort of thing.
How do you make them escalate as you go?
Exactly. It's super weird, but definitely listen to those, everybody. If you want to start, the very first one, you can just look it up. It's called The Sandwich Episode.
It's really good.
And it's a great start if you like the feel of that game. Anyway, I would say, I mean, S, right?
I was going to say, is this our first S?
It's got to be an S. I mean, this is a great one.
I think so. S tier for that one.
Yeah, S tier. It's super creative, but it's also super fun. A lot of laughs, and sometimes they can actually also make you think too. So it's kind of a mix of all three things that we're talking about.
I think so. So
I'm with you on
S. Let's hammer out one of these lower ones that we haven't done before, like very many times. 20 questions. We really enjoyed that, but we only ever did it one time.
Yeah, but it was fond memories, and I want to do another one. I mean, honestly, I'd put it in A. I really liked that.
Oh, you think so?
I mean, what do you think?
My only issue with that is that it's a lot of thinking. It's a lot of us like thinking, trying to like figure something out. So it's not like laughs per minute, right? We're just kind of guessing back and forth. So that's one of the things that kind of holds it back. True. Now, what's kind of fun about it is that the audience can participate. They're also trying to think, what could this item be? So that's kind of fun.
Right. It's funny, you just said that, and I was thinking, you're right, because that's not great for the listener experience. But then you have a good point. They can think along with us.
Right.
I mean, I guess you're right.
I just figure if we put it in A, it would be in the same bracket as like the 20 bracket. And I'm like, I don't know if it should go there. Maybe this just kind of slides back into the B territory again.
Okay, I think you're right. I kind of didn't see it that way at first. So B, where's it going in B though? It's totally different than the other things in B.
Is it better or worse than tier lists? Because actually the bottom is quiz. So is it better than quiz?
Yeah, I think so.
Then I would probably put it like in between tier list and quiz, right? Because tier list would probably be above it.
I think that's fine. I think that's good. Should do another one of those soon though, because that is fun. Like, I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, we might do that soon.
Here's another really fun one that we only ever did once. Finish the lyrics.
Oh, yeah.
We did that for the Christmas special as well, where we
fun.
had to, one of us would start the song of whatever Christmas song we decided, and then the other would have to finish the lyric. And we were like, I don't remember the words to this song that I've heard 10,000 times.
Oh, that drove me wild. I remember that now.
Yes.
Because one of yours was Run, Run, Rudolph. And for the life of me, I could not figure out what the line was. And I knew what the frickin' line was. But I didn't know.
And sometimes you get really close, but it was just off.
And then the other one, too, I remember, we're a little bit of a spoiler, but the other song that you did, that Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer.
Right.
I was basically almost 100% unfamiliar with that song.
Yeah, that blew my
So
mind.
I'm familiar with it, but like I don't know any of the words. I never knew that it was like a story song. Like I didn't know it told this whole story, and
Yeah,
I listened to it since.
I thought it was really interesting that I chose the really popular like secular songs, like Run Run Rudolph and Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, and then all your stuff were like church stuff, so like Silent Night, and I don't remember what else, but you had like a lot more
you're right.
more religious songs, and I'm like, I've heard these and I know these, but I thought it was just really funny that both of our ideas of like classic Christmas songs were like just two different subgroups of that.
That is interesting. I wonder, I can't remember, I think I had a reasoning for the time, but I know in general, I really do that's one of my go-tos is all those old like Christmas hymns. It just reminds me of a simpler time. But yeah, that made it fun for the listener once again too, because it's two totally different,
Two totally different. And it makes sense. I mean, Christmas time for Christians it's a big time of the year. There's like pageants and all kinds of stuff. Or not pageants, that's not the word I'm looking for. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Don't worry about it. Church functions.
Okay, yeah.
People do like
pageantry is going on at church.
I don't know why I said pageant, but like if you do like a little play or whatever of like of like Mary having Jesus, whatever. I can't think of the word.
Like the nativity thing.
Yeah, the nativity stuff. Anyway, that one was really fun, but we only ever did it one time. But I think it's like bottom A or upper B or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, and part of this goes behind the scenes because what I always say this. Weston probably thinks it's kind of funny at this point, but I always say him and I have a very musical relationship because we do sing a lot together, just like randomly. And I think that should play a part. So I would say bottom of A. I like that one a lot. It was super fun.
And that's where I'll put it because I'm okay with that. Here's one we haven't done in a while, but we did do 3 times. Kiss, Marry, Kill.
Oh, yeah. These were hilarious. I'm surprised we haven't done these in a while.
Yeah, we did a few of them really early on because you did a Kiss, Marry, Kill of like, I think video game animals or something. I forget what it was.
So, yeah.
And then I did like
creatures or something, yeah.
And then of creatures, and then I did one of like villains. So it wasn't actually Kiss, Marry, Kill. It was like romance, join, fight, defeat, or something like that. But it was like the same thing, same idea. But these were really good because we came up with... I don't remember what the third one was.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't remember. It might have been like... I can't remember. I'd have to go back and try to look, and I don't remember what episode it would be. But these were fun because this is one of the ones that we had to prepare for in advance. So like I'd have a list of characters, you'd have a list of characters. And we don't really do a lot of those here recently. We do a lot of the like leave it up to mystery ones. But that means we haven't come back around to Kiss, Marry, Kill in a long time.
Well, I'm glad we're kind of doing this just for because I forget that we've done those. So like that'll be fun because I've been thinking of different things to do. And I'm glad you went back and looked at these. Yeah. So we'll probably bring some of these. We'll kind of keep looping these around, but Kiss, Marry, Kill, always, the laugh level is always high. We're always laughing a lot during these. Just because of, just the nature of it, right? I remember I got you laughing so hard when I said that I was going to be, I think having relations with like the horse from The Witcher.
Oh right,
remember?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, because it was like the horse from Witcher, and it was like, what were even the other ones? I don't even remember now.
One of them was it was a dragon.
Oh, the dragon from Dragon's Dogma. I can't think of his name.
Yeah,
and I think it was like the gaping dragon from like Dark Souls too.
Right. Yeah.
I think I had one that was like 3 dragons. I don't think it was 2 dragons and a horse. I think I had one that was 3 dragons, I think, and the horse was a different group. But still, it was pretty funny.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, that was good. Once again, I would not put it any lower than A. Is this S? These were fun.
If it goes S, it's like bottom of S so far. But it was really good, and I think we should bring it back. Either really high A or bottom of S.
I'm going to let you make that final call on this one.
Let's put it in the... Because right now, the only thing we have in S is the Would You Rathers, which we did quite a few of, and they were really... I think I want to put it at the... I keep changing my mind. I was like, put it at the top of A because it's not quite as creative, but we actually had to create the lists themselves. So that's creative in its own way. I'm going to put it at bottom S. I did enjoy doing them, and we should do another.
Okay, I like that. And
bottom
we will.
ass. And we shall. Tune in next week. No,
right.
here's another big favorite: the venue staffers. So like we were staffing the pizzeria, or we're staffing the club. Like we're staffing a venue.
These are fun. This was one that I originally brought to the table, and then you loved it and you took off with it, and that has kind of evolved to be a little bit more over time. Now we have like there's like an imposter, and we're still kind of refining it. But I really like how this game has been. It's super fun.
I feel like with the rules.
I already just flat out said it.
It has to be S. Well, no, the way it's evolved over time, Profoundish, like we were talking about card games, if we don't turn this concept into a card game or a board game in the future, I don't know. Like somehow you have to like staff something.
This was one of our more completely kind of original games or activities. So. Because Would You Rather is very original, but it does come from would you rather.
Right.
But we play it very originally. But yeah, this is one of our just, I think, kind of profound-ish games. So yeah, I love it.
With that in mind, I think it goes
creative.
to the top of S.
Agreed. No doubt. No question.
All right. Top of S it goes. I've got some, the rest from here on out, we've done fewer times. We did do one of these so we got a few we did a few. Here's one that we only did twice, but it was both over the course of Halloween, and it was the ghost stories. We did one that was ghost stories based on the news, like actual news articles we found, and then we did one where we found like just actually spooky ghost stories to tell.
That's right. Also, you and I need to talk about this because we're talking about maybe writing our own scary stories this year.
Yeah, I had suggested we do that last year, but it was too like kind of like sudden notice to like put together. So we're like, okay, well maybe we'll remember that for next time or something. So we might have to write ourselves.
That could be fun.
A little campfire story.
That could be fun. I'm trying to think. I remember really loving is one of the ones you mentioned, the one where we're like, yeah, we read it from like the newspaper articles.
Yeah, that one was a lot of fun.
So were the other ones too, in a totally different way. I don't know. I mean, like, it's not, the creative element's not really there because we're just kind of looking for stories.
Yes. I enjoyed it a lot, but I don't think it's going to rank high.
I kind of feel the same. I'm thinking, so we're kind of on the same page. I'm either thinking maybe like what's in C right now?
We don't have anything in C.
Do you think this is a C? Or a lower B?
We could make it our first in C, because I feel like as fun it is to tell a story, yeah, we didn't necessarily create the stories ourselves. Now, this could change this coming October if we actually write our own. I think this could bump it up in the rankings. But as it stands, what we did with it, I think we could do more. So yeah, we could put it in C as like needs improvement.
Okay. Yeah. Needs improvement. And it very well just might be this year.
But here's one that we've done this one 3 times, and that's the product reviews guess, where we have the review and we have to try to guess the product.
And okay, that's right. Those are always really fun too.
Yeah, you spearheaded that with the Amazon stuff.
So that's right. Now this one is not including the most recent one we did, because that one's kind of different. The one where like I wrote the reviews.
This one is actually a double dipper, believe it or not. This one fits into the review guess, but it also fits into, I have one called Which is Real, which we can do that after that, because you do yours on the reviews and I did one on medicines.
Which is exactly where I got that idea, because it's from the medicine episode. Okay, I see. So these are more, but these are specifically are more like, yeah, you're guessing the products based on the reviews. Once again, there is a little creativity that's gone into it, because you really need to make sure that you have 3 hints that are kind of vague, but you know, you need them to, you got to kind of tier them right. You know, it's super vague, then it gets a little more specific. So there's a little effort that goes into that. it's super like fun as well. Really, either way, either part you play is I think really fun. I don't think it's as up there as like, like I don't think it's S tier. I don't know. I'm honestly, to be honest with you, it's really fun, but I'm really feeling like B category again. But I don't know where. I don't know how you feel.
I think you're right. I think B category, and I think it's going to go somewhere in the realm of like maybe. It's going to be around the tier list ish. I think. Is it better or worse than tier list?
It's.
Is it better or worse than eating drywall?
I still think that sometimes. I don't know. I mean, I guess I would probably say I think it's more like creative than tier lists.
Because the reason I say that is it's actually really similar to 20 questions.
Oh, and we put that.
In between the tier list and the quiz. So I feel like if we think that the review guess is better than 20 questions, but not necessarily better than tier list, I think it goes right in between those two.
Perfect. I think that's it.
All right, B. All right. The snake oil. Where we smash things like word lists together. That one. I think that one was really fun, and I think that got a lot of laughs,
Always
and it
fun.
forced us to be creative. I think I'm going to go ahead and immediately think that's got to be S or A.
There's S 100%. I would venture to say that it should be up near the top of S. I think that's you and me really in our like creative elements. We both kind of like to be kind of on the spot with some of our just kind of funny stuff, and the laughs are always high, and it's a lot of creativity, and it's really fun as the listener to see what we come up with. I think it's a triple whammy, as it were.
I think so. I think we've only done it like twice, so we need to bring that one back as well.
For
Takes
sure.
a little prep, and I think we should do it. Is it better than the venue staffer? Because if it's not, I would just put it right under it.
Okay, I think I'll do right under it. Because I think there's a little less, if we're going like by like creative criteria, I think there's a little less well, maybe there's more creativity involved. It's improv, for God's sake.
It is
but
improv.
in general, I think that one's more unique though than the snake oil one. So I think because that's an original Profoundish game, let's put that slightly above.
Okay, got it. So the
we'll
venue
put
staffer
we'll
right
put that
above.
right below.
Got it.
Yeah, correct.
I like that. Here's one that we did one time, but it was interesting. The Mandela Effect game that you came up with for does this character have a beard or not?
Oh, yeah, that's right. What did you think of it as the player of that game?
That one was fun because it forces you to like your brain plays tricks on you because you can imagine a character with or without a beard. Like one was like the Monopoly Man. You're like, did he have a beard? Did he not have a beard?
Right.
The logo was in black and white. Does he have a white beard? And you kind of go back and forth.
Yep.
Wait, does Tony the Tiger have a beard? I mean, he's a tiger. I think those were both characters on your list. So that was a lot of fun to play. I don't know where else we can go with that. If there's other Mandela Effect games that we could do to try to do that again. But it was fun to play anyway to kind of like mess with your brain a little bit. So in that sense, I kind of enjoyed it a lot somewhere in like probably bottom of A because it's not doing anything super crazy, but it was a lot of fun.
I think bottom of A is perfect. Yeah, I have really not much to add to that. I do like it a lot, but yeah, I'd say bottom of A. I would love to do it again. That does take quite a bit of preparation because you got to think. You kind of have to think about like, would this even like stump him? You know,
right?
So
it's fun to have some
take a lot of
gimmies.
Research, but yeah.
Okay, we got a few to burn through here before we run out of time. We got Tiny Tubers. It's not really a game, but it is near and dear to our heart.
It is, and it's totally different from everything else.
It's totally different. We can have its own category called tea.
Yeah, just put tea off to the side. Do it.
Tea to the side for Tiny Tubers. Not really a game, but a special place in our heart. Here's one that we did only one time, Truth or Dare. That was kind of like a weird one that I tried to do. Like, I think it was around February because I was like, oh, something else you could play with couples. But like, I feel like we didn't know what to do with it because you couldn't really dare each other. So it was kind of like just telling truths at each other, which is just a podcast. So this one, I'm kind of suggesting putting in C. Needs improvement.
Fine with that.
I'm going to put it
fine.
C underneath the ghost stories. That one needed workshopped. The list rankings. This is the one where we only did 2 of them, and it was the list of 10 obsessions, and then it was the list of, I think it was 10, of the common dreams that you did.
That was fun.
We ranked them.
Right, that's right, because that's where the drywall thing came in. Right?
Yeah. Because that was the obsessions, was the eating the drywall.
That's right, yeah.
So that's where that came from. So I guess for just the sheer sake that it spawned the drywall conversation, we could put it like bottom of B or something.
To be honest with you, I was thinking top of C.
Top of C? Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking top of C because a lot of things in that area, B/C, are kind of like just the more conversational kind of, and that's really all that's really doing. It's just, we're kind of putting a list together, but really it's more about, we're just kind of talking about, is it weirder than eating drywall or whatever? Yeah.
The password/catchphrase game that we had, the easy mode, that was a lot of fun. And then we did hard mode, and we literally like spent the entire game trying to think of 2 words.
So that is hilarious. Here's what I will say. I enjoyed it a lot. However, I feel like it's not as fun to listen to because they can't really, like, I mean, I guess they can kind of guess along like 20 questions, but I feel like, for some reason, I feel like it's not the same. I don't know. It doesn't feel the same to me as like 20 questions. I don't know. But everything else about it is fun because I love like word games. I don't know. What do you think?
20 questions was in the B category. If we wanted to say the catchphrase, when we did it the first time, when it was a little easier, we could get through more of them. Would you say it's like under the 20 question section in the B category, maybe?
Yeah, I'd say right there.
Because then probably, would we still put it above quiz?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I'm going to say then. Because we did have the reviews guess in between those. So I guess would it be above the reviews game?
What's your answer to that one? I'm not sure.
I think I kind of liked the reviews game more, so I think it's going to be under.
Yeah. Yep, I'm fine with that.
Okay. And then we had the Witch's Reel, the medicine one, and the reviews one that you did. That one was a lot of fun.
Right. Super fun, super creative. That's higher tier for me.
Yeah, that's upper A, maybe? I don't know if it gets to S.
I would say upper A. I would say upper A, because like the creativity is at like an all-time high, I think. But I think everything else, I think a couple of the S things kind of edge it out, maybe with the overall just funness, the fun factor, but just by a little. So yeah, top of A.
Okay, top of A. The Mount Rushmore we did one time. When we had to come up with Mount Rushmore topics. It's like, who's your top 4 on this topic or whatever?
I love having those conversations. I think for the podcast, it's just kind of okay. I mean, how do you feel about it? That's kind of how I feel. I was feeling like it was okay.
I mean, it's just coming up with like your top 4 things on a thing, and then we have to like come together to figure out who the heads would be.
Right.
It's not bad. I like it. Somewhere in the B, not like a crazy amazing, but somewhere in B.
Yeah, I would say probably the back of B, my preference. I wouldn't mind doing this again just sometime when we just need, just like a quick little thing to throw at the end of the podcast. But okay. So I would say back of B or near the back of B.
I'll do that. And finally, the last game that we've played was the push or press the button. We did one time.
Once again, goes back to the profound part of it, of Profoundish. I really enjoyed it. I forget, though. Where do we have the other kind of more profound things, or are they kind of spread out?
It kind of depends. If we're talking about the... Because Never Have I Ever is the second one in the B category.
Okay.
The quiz was the fourth one in the B category. So like the quiz one, if you kind of get in the profoundest. So if you wanted to put it like around the quiz section, it'd be right there.
Yeah, because I probably would. I mean, I don't know, a lot of great conversations. Yeah, I would probably put her on the quiz one. Maybe right in front of it.
I can do that. Okay.
I think that edges it out a little bit, yeah.
That's our list. According to this, our favorites that we think were our best are the venue staffer, the would you rather, the kiss, marry, oh, I skipped snake oil. It's the venue staffer, then snake oil, then would you rather, and then kiss, marry, kill are our S categories. Mm-hmm. In the A categories, we have, because the way I rank these is super weird, so I have to find them. The Witch is Real, the Tourney Bracket, the Finish the Lyrics, and the Mandela Effect. In the B category, we've got ourselves... Where's our first B? Here it is. We've got the Never Have I Ever. We've got the tier list. We've got the 20 questions. We've got the reviews guess. We've got the password and catchphrase. We've got the Mount Rushmore. We got the press the button. And we've got the quiz show. And then in the C category, we didn't have very many of these, but we had the ghost stories. We have we had the list rank, and then the ghost stories, and then the truth or dare.
Okay. I think I like that. I'm pretty pleased with that. I think we came up with a good ranking there. There's definitely a couple things that could go back to the drawing boards. But there's also things I will definitely want to bring back that were just fun that we just kind of haven't done in a while.
Yeah. And we definitely, like those, especially the S and A ones, any of those that we haven't done yet, I think we should definitely bring back. And then anything in like the C category, it's like, what can we do to make this different?
Right. We're always trying to improve things over here at Profoundish.
And we'll keep making up new ones too as we go, because obviously, but.
Right. Because that's always fun. I think so far, though, like if we had to this pick like the most creative game, that I would say it's the one that's kind of evolved a little bit over time, which is the venue staffers.
Yeah, that one's really fun to like wrap your head around the location, what the category of the people that you're putting jobs, what the jobs even are, and then coming up with the rules for it, like who's an imposter and like who you're not allowed to use. I think that's evolved so much that's just like that's a mainstay that you'll continue to see periodically.
Yeah, and it's become really just there's a part of you in there and a part of me in there with like, I came up with a core concept and then you kind of ran with that, then added extra elements to it. So now it really is kind of like we both made this really cool, kind of unique game. So yeah, it's super fun.
That's what I like to do most of the times. Like I'll steal something you did and what can I do to it?
That's right. I remember you like, what was it? It was after I made my Jimmy Neutron video. And then you made some sort of Jimmy Neutron video too.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to do that too. And then I'll link back to your video. I'm just going to steal your content.
Oh, that's hilarious. It's always been, but that's kind of always what it's been, because I did my YouTube channel, and I know that I wasn't I wasn't like the main reason why you started one, but I know that you obviously knew I had a channel years and years and years ago, and you're like, Alex had a YouTube channel? People are making YouTube channels. I'm going to make one. And then I made another one, my music one, because of you. It's a constant back and forth.
We just inspire one another.
That's right. Absolutely. Weston, I want to say congratulations to you.
To me?
To you for sticking it out here with me, doing 50 episodes, a year of Profoundish. I'm glad we've committed to this, and this has been a ton of fun.
Well, I would like to
year 2.
I would like to offer you my condolences for having to put up with this thing with me. Congratulations, my condolences.
I'm so sorry.
I will continue to do it. I am so sorry. Thank you all so much for listening to Profoundish. I'm going to cut Alex off because I know he's got to go soon.
Go ahead. I do have to go.
You've been listening to Profoundish. If you can like, favorite, subscribe, comment, 5 stars, whatever you can do that thing. We've been here for a year. If you've been with us since the beginning, hearty congratulations to you. And if you're new, you've got a massive backlog to check on any of those things that we've been referencing throughout the entire episode. So please do support us in any way that you know how. Alex, where can we find you specifically?
You can find me at alexduquette.net. I do all kinds of fun music stuff, and you should check it out. I do medleys. They're basically... I usually do like TV show medleys, so I take a bunch of theme songs, take little pieces of them, and put them all together into one song. It's a lot of fun. I do original music too, songs from Sangamon Street. That's my album name. Check that out on my website or on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you want. Yeah, I do other stuff. Check it out, alexduquette.net. What about you, Weston?
You can find my landing page at westonhasty.com. I got a bunch of stuff over there, but for the most part, if you want to come hang out and chill and like watch some games while I stream them, Magic Menmo on YouTube is my mainstay. Come say hi to me on Twitter, or X, rather, if you want to ride that sinking ship to the ground. Let's do it at Weston Hasty.
Let's do it together.
Let's do it together. That's all I got. Thank you all so much for listening. And until next time,
eat your peas.
And gargle salt water when you're sick.
Gargle your peas.
Gargle your peas.